Hey everyone, hi, welcome or welcome back. So I am looking at the New York Times, their spring preview, which came out back in March, but I thought I would go through the list with you because I think it's interesting to keep abreast of new releases, even if I don't dive headfirst into reading them. So we're looking at the 24 works of fiction to read this spring. This is the New York Times curated list, and we're going to see, what do we want to read? What do I want to read? Should we wait for more reviews? Is it just reminding me about a book on my shelf that I actually want to read? What's the vibe for spring? And also judging these covers, because some of these covers are so stinking ugly. So anyways, if you're new to my channel, then know that my name is Shelly and I love books and reading. And if you're liking the vibe, please subscribe. Without any further rambling on, let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. The first book on this list is a book by a very well-known author, Dream Count by Chimamanda and Ngozi Adichie, which was longlisted, but not shortlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction of this year. Now, this is going to be about 4 African women who are intertwined by blood or friendship and grapple with love, grief, identity, belonging, and the pressures of community versus their own desires. So here's the deal with Dream Count and Ngozi Adichie in general, is that I want to read Americana by this author. It is her most hailed work. It is her most notable work. I just have my heart set on that book for this author, and at that point I'll decide whether I want to read anything more from her or not. And so though I can appreciate that such a hailed author has come out with a new book, I'm not going to be scrambling to read it. Also, this cover with this flame and this flame that's orange and then red and then lighter orange and then blue, I find this atrociously ugly. I think it's not signaling anything. I don't know who it's for. It's definitely, I think of, I am intrigued by artsy covers, moody covers, maybe a black and white photograph or some sort of abstract drawing. This to me is so offensively ugly. I don't like anything about it. Maybe there is some deeper meaning once one has read the book that this flame is signaling to, or maybe the four outlines of the flame have to do with the 4 women. I don't really know, but all I know is that this is so ugly. Okay, dare I say it's ugly? Yes, I do. It's just, It's not selling itself to me, that's for sure. It's not intriguing me in any way, shape, or form. So the next book is Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaghy, an author that I've personally read before. I read Once There Were Wolves, which is a murder mystery twin story global book that is kind of zany and cuckoo's bananas crazy off the rails that falls into the same genre as Unhinged Woman. And I think that McConaghy fans enjoy her zany, off-the-rails, unhinged woman vibe. And I think Wild Dark Shore is selling itself to those fans or stans because it is about a widowed father who has his 3 children. They're living on a remote island that's in between Tasmania and Antarctica, and then a storm hits in which an injured woman washes ashore, and the question is, who is she, what does she want, and where does she come from? And to me, that is screaming Unhinged Woman. In terms of cover, I quite like it. I feel like it's saying, I'm moody, I'm artsy, we're gonna have lots of inside the book, there's going to be a lot of imagery about waves and living on an island and being surrounded by water, but it's not the blue water, it's the moody water, and the water is going to mean something else, and devastation, these orange tones. I quite like the cover, and it's saying, Shelly, don't you want to buy me? It's the book that I would be like, oh, what are you all about? And then I would read it and be like, maybe. It's intriguing, right? It's intriguing. unlike this next book, which is a romance novel, and it's fan service by Rosie Danan. This is a paranormal contemporary romance about a washed-up actor who wants to produce a rebooted werewolf soap opera that made him famous as a teen. So, And then the actor seeks the help of Alex, who used to moderate his online fan forum. He seeks the help of somebody who used to moderate his online fan forum. Okay. If she can put her disdain aside for him in order to figure out what's happened to him. So it's enemies to lovers. There's this trend in spicy romance, from what I know. I haven't read any, but the romance that is like hot and steamy, there's this trend to have this like cartoony cover on it. It's signaling maybe I'm a graphic novel, but when you actually get into my contents, I am a spicy romance. And I don't know, it's not my favorite kind of cover or favorite kind of cover trend. Okay, another author that I have read, and this is a historical fiction work, it is The Jackal's Mistress by Chris Bohjalian. Oh gosh. Okay, it is the 1860s in Virginia, and this wife of a Confederate soldier faces the difficult choice when a critically injured Union officer shows up at her door. Despite the risk, she tries to help him in hopes that the stranger would do the same for her husband. I have read from this author The Midwife's Tale, the book about the midwife. I didn't really like it, and so it's turned me off to his books. Maybe I should try again, but I really was extremely underwhelmed by that book. I'll have the cover up of the book that I have read. The Jackal's Mistress, I like the colors. Obviously, I'm intrigued by these oranges and taupes and sunsetty colors. I don't like the outline of the woman, though I like that she's holding a firearm. To me, the cover is saying, hi, I'm a basic historical fiction book with a predictable plot, and am selling myself to someone who just wants a comfort read. That's how I feel. Whether I'm wrong or not is fine. The next book is Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. This is the prequel to The Hunger Games. I actually saw Steve Donahue, my favorite book critic, talk about this on a podcast that he was on, and he said it actually holds up pretty well. You do not have to have read the first, the Hunger Games to enjoy this book. I can appreciate that, but I feel like The Hunger Games, I read, it's gone now. I don't know. I read it at one point, and now that time in my life is over, and it's not something I want to revisit. But I can say that the cover is, exactly in line with the original covers. It's selling itself to people who are familiar with the books, who have read the books, or at least know of them. And I think it's trying to sort of poke at the nostalgia of those readers, the readers who have read the books and liked them and want that vibe again, but also inviting itself to new readers who may be familiar with the movies and the imagery from the movies and want to try a new, fresh take on the Hunger Games. That's what I feel like the cover is saying. So smart choice. I think it's a smart choice for the cover, even if I'm not part of the audience that is wanting to read this book. Next up is The Love We Found by Jill Santopolo. It's saying that 10 years ago, this man died, and his lover Lucy is still not over his death. Then she finds a tiny piece of paper tucked in a box of his old photos, and it leads her to an address in Rome where she meets a doctor from New York. Can this new flame help her move on? The cover and the description is signaling light romance with some sentimental themes. Not typically my kind of vibe. and for people who like that mixture of love with some depth, like loss. Tilt by Emma Petit is next. Annie's life is upended when a devastating earthquake hits Portland, Oregon. The disaster nearly kills Annie, who is 9 months pregnant, and separates her from her husband. Walking past wreckage and suburban sprawl, Annie reflects on her disappointing career, memories of her dead mother, and her struggling marriage. This cover is saying, hi, I am a little literary. We have the tilt, which is the cover, which is the title, but it's on a tilted surface of the cover. And then there's this bird, which might signal rebirth or renewal or leaving the nest, development, transformation. I feel like this book is trying to sell itself to readers like me. It's saying, we are serious. We are self-referential, with the tilt being the title of the cover and the tilt on the actual imagery of the cover. And we're for readers who like literary things. We are trying to sell ourselves to literary readers. And yet, it's not really working for me. I'm kind of like, ugh. I don't like the cover. I think it's giving Jonathan Franzen, who I've never read and don't really want to read, but it's giving like the corrections, like damaged family. We're being sort of cheeky, but it's serious. And I don't know. This is just judging the cover. So based on the cover, I would not buy this book, okay? I would not buy it. Now, this next book is Stephen Graham Jones, The Buffalo Hunter. The Buffalo Hunter. Really, Stephen Graham Jones, The Buffalo Hunter. Okay, don't like that title, but I actually really like the cover. I love that there's this buffalo and we're getting the profile of the buffalo and we can see the texture and the glinting light on the shoulder of the buffalo. I like the brown and it's juxtaposed to this like stone cover, like the stone background of the cover. It's like this beautiful artistic shot, not pew shot, but like photograph of the buffalo. And then in the front with this brighter yet sort of muted red with the two different fonts, with the Buffalo Hunter and then Hunter, because you have to have that second font. Otherwise it would just read Buffalo Hunter, which doesn't make sense, but it's like the Buffalo Hunter, the hunter that hunts the buffalo hunters. That's what it's saying, right? But you don't get that with just typography that's all the same. If it was all the same, it would just feel like Buffalo Hunter, and I'd be like, is it a typo? But this is because of the font, it's signaling the hunter of the Buffalo Hunters, right? And then Stephen Graham Jones, Stephen Graham being squished and more compact, and then Jones being bigger and spread out. And I like that sort of block, the way that block looks. Anyways, this is about the discovery of an old diary, which begins Jones's latest horror novel. Now, here's what's interesting. I would not know that this was a horror based off the cover. It's not signaling horror, which I know that Stephen Graham Jones has more literary horrors, but it just doesn't signal scary, dark. It really signals more literary, thoughtful, except for the word hunter, right? Because hunter is sort of like horror adjacent. Okay. It tells the tale of Goodstab, which is the name of a native man who transformed into a vampire after the brutal massacre of indigenous people. Okay, that sounds fascinating. I also just happen to like vampire books, or I think I like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the show. Not sure about this. And then he had, armed with his newfound powers of vampirism, as a vampire, he embarks on a vengeful quest. Okay, of all the Stephen Graham Jones books I've read about or tried to read, this one actually sounds like it's for me. All right. I like that. That sounds really good. Next up is Rabbit Moon by Jennifer Haigh. So when a hit and run accident leaves their daughter Lindsay critically injured in China, where Lindsay was teaching English during her college gap year, her divorced parents come together for the first time since they separated, bringing old grievances to the fore. Now, on the surface, that sounds good. So I feel like the cover is trying to tell me about the tone of the book. The cover is these blue blossoms, which is really pretty, by the way, against a purple background. And it looks like the end papers and the spine is a very bright purple or a pinkish purple, and it's bright. And I think what it's saying is that even though this is a serious topic, divorce and brokenness and sadness because their daughter is critically injured, it's going to be about how they got to this place of finally, of coming together, and maybe this healing and new beginnings because of the blossoms on the cover. And I feel like it's saying, even though it's dark, we have a light tone. That Jennifer Haigh we have a light touch to this book because the colors are soft and spring-like and pretty. Now, I could be totally wrong. Maybe the tone is dark and sad and but according to the cover and the way it's trying to sell itself, I would say it's sentimental, slightly literary. It has, again, a softness around the edges because of the way the cover is designed. I do quite like how it says Rabbit Moon in the white font and Jennifer Haigh just right there in the center, and it's not hard to find, and it's just sort of right at the reader's eye, which I quite like. Next up, we have Flesh by David Valle. It's about Istvan, who leads a solitary life with his mother in a Hungarian town. His only other companion is his neighbor, an older married woman with whom he becomes involved in a complicated relationship. Their entanglement results in a violent accident that reverberates throughout his life. Okay, according to this copy, this sounds like a Shelley book. It sounds like a character study, complex, by himself, so there might be nature-esque themes. I like that there is the word solitary life. That is like, I don't know. I love that. I don't know why. That is like catnip to me, the word solitary life. I like that because it just means that he's with himself. There might be a sense of loneliness. There might be a theme of loneliness. There might be a theme of contentment, but out in nature, that kind of thing. I like that it's set in a Hungarian town. I like that it says a complicated relationship with an older married woman rather than an affair. So it could be that, maybe he's leaning on her or developing an emotional relationship with her that he shouldn't be, or something of that nature. I don't know, right? So I feel like the copy is giving me everything. The cover, I feel like I should like, but I don't. I love the colors. I love the icky, ucky, mucky green as the backdrop, and then this eaten apple core, and we have this beige on the inside, and the red, like this reddish orange on that is the color of the apple that has been eaten. And at the very tippy top, at the 1/8 of the top, we have flesh, and at the 1/8 part on the bottom, we have the author's name. That's in what looks like maybe a blue, it's not quite white, I don't think, but it's like a bluish color. What I don't like is that the apple looks like it's been AI generated or washed out. It doesn't look like a painting of an apple. It doesn't quite look like a photograph of an apple. It doesn't look like a drawing of an apple. It looks like somebody was like AI generated apple, half-eaten apple, or AI generated apple, core to apple. I don't know, eaten apple to the core or something like that. So there's something about the apple itself that I do not like. I feel like on the surface, if I was looking, I'd be like, oh yeah, that book is trying to sell itself to a literary reader, to like an aesthetic girly, like to somebody who's sensitive to aesthetics, to somebody who likes aesthetics according to the color choice and according to this eaten apple, which could be a metaphor for something else in the book. I think that everything is saying that it's supposed to be for me, and yet there's something about it that's not working. I feel like it would work better if this was a paint, like truly a painting of an apple where you could see the paint strokes, or a photograph of an apple that has the background digitally removed, and so you're just looking at this detailed sort of grotesque picture of a half-eaten apple. But this itself, I'm like, who did this? Who is doing this? I don't like it, okay? I don't like it. All right, our next one is going to be Flirting Lessons by Jasmine Guillory. Avery, newly single, is excited to dive back into the dating world. Women this time. She, however, has little to no experience dating people of the same sex. That's where Taylor, a notoriously modern Casanova, comes in, giving Avery the lessons she needs on flirting and ultimately love. Okay, I like the sound of this. I like that, unlike the movie theater, the werewolf movie one, I feel like this is saying, the cover of it is saying, I am a romance. I'm a romance, and I like that we are actually not seeing the facial features of our characters. We're just seeing the outline of them. I like the way that they're in motion. I like the colors that were chosen. I like that we can see them, the outline of them from tip to toe, and that I quite like almost everything that's happening here. And that the tie on the back of one of the characters' dresses is entangled with the author's name, which is at the very center of the book. I like it. I like it all. I like the whole thing. And I like that even down to like the shoes, the one woman's heels are the same color as her dress, which is this like vibrant coral, which stands out just enough against the purple background. This is a good cover, y'all. This is a good cover. And now I kind of want to read this book. I also just like the sound of it all. The sort of fake dating, teaching you how to date vibe. I think it sounds like a super joyful read. The next book is My Documents by Kevin Nguyen. So the lives of 4 young adult cousins of Vietnamese descent are turned upside down when a series of terrorist bombings on American soil ignites national panic. The attacks prompt the government to issue an order directing Vietnamese Americans, including 2 of the 4 cousins and their mothers, to internment camps. Now, on the surface, that sounds really interesting. It sounds really interesting. The cover, I don't know what it is signaling. We have this collage-like cover with black and white and what it looks like a bridge in the middle. Is that right? And actually, if you look really, really close, the tower in the middle, the tower in the middle, it doesn't look like a bridge. It looks like a tower now. Has like eyeballs going down. And there's these, lines, vertical lines, starbursting outwards. And then behind the mountain in a collage style, there's this neon, or this lime green paper. And then the title is in, this purplish, light purple color. And there's stars. I don't know what it's signaling. Is it signaling literary? It feels like it might be signaling lighter read because of the stars and the colors. I'm confused, okay? I'm confused. Okay, the next book I'm not confused about in terms of the cover. So it's Audition by Katie Kitamura. That's it. What a great name, Katie Kitamura. A middle-aged actress forms an ambiguous relationship with a young man before a monumental shift halfway through the book. Okay, before a monumental shift halfway, like a shift in plot halfway through the book? A shift in their relationship? Are they lovers, co-workers, family members? Who's to say? Family. maybe the shift is that they find out that they're siblings, or maybe distantly related. Okay, but it's saying that it's an ambiguous relationship, and the cover is trying to be somewhat ambiguous with all these colors, and it's like nothing is quite aligned. It's all sort of scattered. And so I feel like it's mimicking the tone of the book, but I feel like because there is this really super dark background, I think it's a black background, and these colors that are bright colors, I feel like it's telling me that I'm a very dark book, and I'm going to have really dark twists and turns, so you better be ready for it. Like, hold on to your, what is this phrase? I don't know. Hold on, sister, because you're going to be going through some ups and downs and twists and turns that you're not going to really be able to handle. And I'm getting that from the cover, okay? I don't know, okay? I'm not sure. The next book sounds like it has an interesting history. Who knows how it will read, but it's called Fish Tales by Nettie Jones. This was Toni Morrison's last acquisition as an editor and was originally published in 1983. So this is a republished book, and it is about Lois Jones, a young black woman, bounces between Detroit and New York, drifting through relationships and seeking freedom that constantly eludes her. And it is very clear that drugs, sex, and parties abound in this novel. I feel like it is saying that with these bright colors, the outline of the heel, and actually the outline of the shoe, the heel, right? Then the actual heel is a nail. I like that it's this mixed, not mixed media, but it's we have this like color block shoe, and then this photograph of an actual nail, the hardware nail. And then the title and author and even a novel is very clear above the top. And, and it's like the top 1/5 of the novel, or 1/4 of the novel is dedicated to just the title of the book and the author, and it's saying that it's a novel. And I like that there is so much of the cover that is this solid yellow. And I do love that there is this pop of reddish orange in the book. I think if I was at Barnes & Noble, if I was at a bookstore, I would be intrigued by this book. I feel like it's selling itself to me, saying, look at me, flip through me, decide whether you want to read it. And so in that way, I quite like it. Okay, the next book, Vanishing World by Sayaka Murata and Ginny Tapley Takemori, who translates, I think, all of Sayaka Murata's novels. I read, Convenience Store Woman, which I quite liked. And then she has like that book Earthlings, which I heard is extremely weird. This book is a dystopian novel. Sex between married couples is as taboo as incest, and society is populated by artificial insemination. As a child, Maine learns she was conceived the old-fashioned way. This discovery kindles a lifelong conflict between her desire to conform to society's expectations or pursue what she actually wants. Okay, this is saying, "Hi, I'm weird." The title, the cover is saying, "Hi, I'm weird." The concept says, "Hi, I'm weird," because the cover is like these little doll-like babies that are plastic on a petri dish, and then they're the pop of color, the background is blue and the pop of color is yellow. And having read and judged quite a few books and covers right now, this is selling itself most to me. This is like, "Hi, I'm a weird girl. I like weird fiction. Give me all the weirdness and all the wild just oddities." The concept sounds fascinating, and I am intrigued. Okay, next up is Emily Henry's Great Big Beautiful Life. I'm not going to spend much on this. Emily Henry, no, she is a romance author, contemporary romance author. I read one of her books. It was good. So this is just falling right in her series of contemporary romance books. And it's designed almost exactly in the same way. We have a male and a female. They're cartoonish depictions of our lead male and female. And the cover is a striking color. So she's had like green and blue as the background, and this one is a reddish orange, a red with orange mixed in. And so it's very much in line. It's selling itself to her fans who know her. And if I didn't know her and I saw that, I'd be like, that's not really a book for me. But yeah, fans of hers will be able to like identify it across the bookstore and run right to it and pick it up. The next book is The Staircase in the Woods by Chuck Wendig. This says 5 high school students go on a camping trip and discover a mysterious staircase leading to nowhere. When one friend climbs up and vanishes, the staircase disappears. 20 years later, the staircase reappears, prompting the group to reunite and return to the woods to find their lost friend. On the surface, it sounds fun because I've been reading more thrillers lately, and the cover is saying I'm mysterious, I might be a thriller. It has these dark tones with this, it's backlit, and you see the stairs. So it is, I feel like, taking the contents of the book and shaping the cover and giving you, I don't know, something visually to grab onto this sort of mysterious setting. I like that. I like that. Ooh, again, we have another book that I don't know, I feel mixed about the cover, at least. And it is Isabel Allende. My name is Emilia de Valle. My name is Emilia de Valle. I feel like it's like, what is it, The Princess Bride? My name is Antonio, my name is Antonio Moncada, you killed my father, prepare to die. I feel like it's playing with that thing. It even sounds similar. And what is his name? My name is Antonio, I can't remember. Okay. But even like the syllables, the way they mimic, it sounds similar. My name is Emilia de Valle. My name is Emilia de Valle. My name is Emilia de Valle. I love that. It sounds good in the mouth, but it almost sounds similar to or referencing The Princess Bride, even if it's not. So this is about a woman, Emilia, if you can imagine, born in the 1860s in San Francisco to an Irish nun and a Chilean aristocrat who grows up to be an independent, self-sufficient journalist. Oh! That sounds good. And then, she ends up trying to confront her past. Here's what I don't like about the cover is that, again, I think I don't like illustrated covers where you can see the details of the face. Like, I just want to be able to imagine my own person on the face. It's not my favorite. It's got these soft colors. It's very magical realist because she's standing in the ocean with the clouds over her shoulders, and she's larger than the seagulls, like much, 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 much larger than the birds that are around her. It's got, high magical realist, and we're going to go into that kind of vibe in the book, which is what Allende does. She writes historical fiction, magical realism type books. So it's definitely in line with what she's written before. And I think, again, it's selling itself to her fans because I think, not that all of her covers look the same, but I think that the people who like reading historical fiction, magical realism are going to be drawn perhaps to this cover and then read it. You tell me. I'm not historical fiction, magical realist girly. Like, that's not me. I have not read an Allende, but I feel like it's trying to market itself to those readers. Okay, next up is The Emperor of Gladness by Ocean Vuong. I read both of Vuong's poetry collections, and they were good. I think he has 2 out there, 2 poetry collections. I've not read On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, but I've heard it's really good, and I've wanted to read it. So The Emperor of Gladness is about a relationship between a Vietnamese man and a widow in a fictional Connecticut town. The young man is about to leap into the river when he is stopped by the sound of a woman wailing. He becomes a caretaker for the widowed woman, who is grappling with dementia and struggles to help him choose another path. Yeah, I think that Vuong writes stories, and even in his poetry, about being like first generation American, that like there's grappling with the self. There is complicated relationships with women that are older than him, primarily his mother. I feel like it is marketing itself to that. And I feel like the cover actually looks like Ocean Vuong covers. That if you lined up his books, they all have a depiction of a young man, whether it be himself because of his poetry, or the outline of a young man, or the allusion to a young person on the cover, and it's in these tones and colors. So I think if you have all of Ocean Vuong's books, you will actually really enjoy having this book slotted among your collection, and it will look like it's all from the same author. All right, the next one is Sleep by Honor Jones. So this is about Margaret, a recently divorced mother of 2 daughters who has yet to confront the ugly truths from her childhood. As one of her daughters approaches the age Margaret was when she faced her dark adolescent chapter, Margaret balances her past with her roles as a mother and daughter. So this is a woman who, the cover is in these muted, it's got this beige background, this off-white background with bright, well, not bright, it's like pastel pink to do the title and the author's name. And then in the middle, you have this photograph that looks like it's been tinkered, the coloring, to make the blues pop more, and like the color of this woman's lips pop more. And it's this shot where a photograph is, photographing her from the bottom of the water upward. So we can only see the bottom half of her face and her chest. And the sunlight is coming through the water, giving this like shattered glass effect on her mouth and body. And of course it has the symbolism of like trying to keep your head above water, don't drown, like work through it. It's a struggle, but you can do it kind of feeling. And I think that I would be intrigued by this cover, even though it's not my absolute favorite. I think there's something about the photograph itself and like focusing in on the neck and maybe even the shadow of the neck, there's just something about this cover that I don't love, even though I love the colors. I love the colors. I almost feel like if this was a little more blurry or something, like we couldn't quite make it out, it would almost, like as an abstract painting, it would look better to me, rather than knowing exactly that it's a woman. Like maybe it's just too on the nose, that it's a woman swimming and she's trying to maintain her position so that she can breathe. I don't know. I'm not loving that. The cover itself, even though I love the colors, I feel like it's saying this is for literary readers. It's for people who like sort of maybe darkness, the struggle. We're not light and fluffy in tone. You might be getting into the depths of humanity that is ugly and sad and icky, but it's going to be really good and it's going to be great. And I feel like it's saying all of that, but I don't actually actively enjoy looking visually at the cover. Okay, the next book is an Irish book by an author that I want to read because they made it to like the top, like the best 100 books of the 21st century, according the top Irish books of the 21st century. And it's called Heart, Be at Peace by Donal Ryan. So this is interconnected stories about a small Irish village recovering from economic collapse. And the title is, the cover is very boring. I'm going to say that. It looks like a street of houses. You can see the street, and you just have the title spanning from top to bottom. The colors are pretty boring. It's doing nothing for me. But what excited me was the author, because I've heard great things about Donal Ryan's writing. All right, next up is Spent by Alison Bechdel. I read Bechdel's Fun Home, which is what really put her on the map. It's a graphic memoir. And this is going to be a work of autofiction, which is fine. It looks like Bechdel's cartooning, so it's being sold to align with her art and people who have read her. It's fine. I liked Fun Home. I really enjoyed it when I read it, and it's one of those that I probably should read reread rather. But Spent itself is not doing much for me. It's got these like really bright primary colors, the bright primary red, primary yellow, and then the primary blue in the background. And I don't know, I don't want to say it's off-putting because I do quite like Bechdel's cartooning, but it's not doing anything for me. The next book is Harmattan Season by Tachi Onyebuchi. This is about a private eye who just wants peace, but finds himself plunged into the shadows of a city teetering on violence after a bleeding woman arrives at his door and disappears suddenly. As tensions rise, our private eye must confront his past and decide what he's willing to sacrifice. The cover looks like a fantasy book. I don't know if this is a fantasy book, but it's giving, hi, I'm fantasy, and maybe I'm a literary fantasy. That's what I'm getting from it. It's, oh yeah, it is, okay, it's a standalone hard-boiled fantasy noir. Okay, didn't quite, I mean, I was right about it, so it's signaling the right thing, but because it's a hard-boiled fantasy noir, it also means, hi, it's not for me. I mean, not that I'm against reading fantasy noirs, but it's also just like marketing itself to the right people, but also excluding perhaps the right people. I don't know, like I just, this man, we get the back of him, and we see this outline of the woman who looks like she's floating, and they're amid the clouds. On the surface of it, though, I don't think it's a bad cover, but it's just like I look at it and I'm like, that's not for me. And then finally, we have The South by Tash Aw. After his grandfather's death, Jay travels to a deteriorating farm that his family inherited. As decay takes over the property, Jay becomes enthralled with Chuan, the son of the farm's manager. Their connection deepens amid the tense family dynamics inside the house, where secrets and regrets begin to surface. The copy sounds great. It sounds like a Shelley book, relationships and family secrets and intense family dynamics. It all sounds good. The cover is boring as all heck. I mean, could we have had a more boring cover? It's this sort of bird's eye view of land and water that's totally washed out by some greens and yellows and a pop of teal in the background, and then very clear and boring typography in the center, and at the very, very center in a small little font in yellow, which is not the rest of the color, the main font is in white. The small font in the center, it says a novel. Like, I would look at that and be like, how boring can you be? Who are you selling this to? Not to me, but the description sounds fantastic. So, there we go. That is it. What did you think? How did you like this? Usually I don't talk about covers, but I felt inspired to today, so I hope you liked it. Just thank you so much for being here and spending this time with me. Tell me what you're interested in. I still think Vanishing World by Sayaka Murata is the one that's at the tippy top of my list for whatever reason. It sounds fantastic. And yeah, that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for being here and spending this time with me. And I will see you all, hopefully, in the next one. Bye!